This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be welcoming Meeno Peluce, a former child actor. You remember him from back in the day. He was on Voyagers with John Eric Hexum. He was in a couple horror classics, of course, the creme de la creme of supernatural horror movies, the Amityville Horror, and the classic, very underrated classic, Don't Go Near the Park. He will be my third guest from that. I've had Linnea Quigley and Larry Folds on to talk about that movie before. And God, he guest starred on everything from The Incredible Hulk to Lou Grant, Different Strokes, Happy Days. He was on a couple short-lived series, the Bad News Bears TV show version, and Best of the West. And of course, Voyagers didn't last long, sadly, but it could have ran a while. It was a really good show. And he was in Ronnie James Dio's video for The Last in Line. He'll be my second guest from that. And he's a photographer now. And it's going to be great to talk to him about this and talk about his journey. It's going to be a great conversation. Also, he's the half brother of Soleil Moon Frye, Punky Brewster, and he guest starred on an episode. So, yeah, I'm pretty stoked about this. Also, happy birthday to my lovely past guest, Sarah Ballantyne. I just adore her, that wonderful free spirit. She is just magic. So yeah, here is my interview with Meeno Peluce. So, going back in time, what age did you start gravitating toward acting as a kid?
Oh man, so here's the thing. I was always acting the fool, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this was me as a tiny little kid. What do you do when you're a kid? Mom, I'm playing, right?
Yeah.
And the opportunity to be on set with her, she was catering. And I saw all these people just playing in big style. And I was like, nah, I want to do that. Right? It just looked like fun turned up to 11. And so I told her I want to do that. She said, well, you're too young. You're too young. I finally convinced her. And she says, all right, you wait till you're 7. You can give it a try. On my 7th birthday, we went to an agent who loved me and signed me up. Big curls, big eyes. And next thing you know, a week later, I'm on Starsky and Hutch. It was awesome. This was, this was the world of my childhood, my TV, latchkey kid childhood.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, I was getting to go be part of it.
Yeah, that's so friggin' awesome. And so your mom, did she manage actors?
No. She was catering.
Okay, for some reason it said that she was a personal manager on Wikipedia.
So she tried to manage my sister's career.
Okay.
That began to blow up. But realistically, that was just, that was humongous. Soleil was really the celebrity in the family. I was the professional working actor, was it for me.
Gotcha. What year did you move out to LA from the Netherlands?
So my folks were from LA.
Okay.
They were super cool people who, gone from being kind of it, but a little square, 50s, some beehive action, to reading deeper into the literature of the era and awakening more and more, and it became quite beatnik. And then there was this moment right around the same time my mom heard this voice that said, "You're pregnant." And she wasn't supposed to get pregnant. That wasn't supposed to be biologically operational for her. And they'd been married 10 years with no luck. And the little voice that told her, "You're pregnant," also said right around that time, "Go to India." And she went to the doctor. She said, "I'm pregnant." They said, "You're not pregnant." And she said, no, I'm pregnant. And she came back a couple weeks later, and they said, "You are pregnant." She said, "Yeah, I told you." And And then she said to my dad, I'm going to India. You want to come? And so they designed this trip of splitting from America to go have their baby and have this humongous adventure.
Mm-hmm.
That began with them while I was still in the belly. They camped across America in their VW bus and had all manner of adventures. And then when they got to the East Coast, they flew to Europe and started driving all around Europe and having all sorts of adventures there. And that was an incredible time, right? That's late 69, early 70.
Yeah, it's still coming off of peace and love in that era.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is a time of real transformation and eyes opening to a new way of being. And they pull into Amsterdam, a winter night with the snow falling and the lights sparkling, and it was magic. And my mom said, this is it. So I was born in Amsterdam, and we lived there for the next year and a half or something. We lived in a windmill. It was awesome, right? The Molen, that was a historical windmill, and part of the deal of getting to live there was that they had to give tours. And then when I was old enough to get shots, got my shots, and we split for India and Nepal and lived the next couple of years there. That was, that was all the first pre-verbal memories happening, the early stuff. Well, not pre-verbal. I was verbal early. So the pre-verbals come from a little bit of Amsterdam, tiniest bits of Molen memory there. And then there's these memories of like butter candles and the great eye, Bamboo North, and just the mystic magic of India being tremendously imprinted upon my young soul, and giving me this sense that like the world is a great big amazing place and it's full of some serious magic that you can tap into. And that's been my trajectory throughout my life, right? So when my wife and I met and knew we were destined to be together, she also had spent time in India as a college student, getting the light in her eyes there. And so we said, well, look, let's do these two huge things at once. Let's go back to India together and let's get married while we're there. So it was perfect. And that's the kind of adventure I've been on ever since. So we came back to LA when I was just around 5. Mm-hmm. My parents kind of promptly split up. We got their taste, that aspect of life, the 70s latchkey kid who was lettering myself on American culture through I Love Lucy and Scooby-Doo and Bugs Bunny, and just being a kid who always had played. And if you grow up traveling, then you also know how to entertain yourself. So I had a vivid imagination.
Yeah, of course. Because back then, that's all you had was your imagination. There was no internet. Life could be pretty boring if you weren't, outside playing with your friends or watching TV.
Let me tell you what, life has never been boring. For me, there's always been so much to do and to be involved with and to sink teeth into and all that stuff. I mean, to that end, I was bit about TV as a little kid, but I think part of that was also just kind of at home trying to escape whatever negativity was going on with my folks breaking up. But by the time I'm 12, and that's long past and everything, I gave up TV. I was still on TV, but I wasn't watching it.
Right. So when you got on Starsky and Hutch, was there any thought in your young mind, or even the thought of your parents, that was like, okay, this is my first TV job, I better not fuck it up?
No, nothing like that. So here's an interesting thing that I realized, that I as an adult and as a director now who has worked with other people in front of the camera and like getting them to the place. Mm-hmm. People always told me, wow, kid, you're a real natural. And I had no idea what that meant, right?
Right.
Like, I was doing all the things that occurred to me that one ought to be doing in this world. Like, as an actor, I ought to just be making believe and totally like getting into whatever the story was that we were telling that day in the scene. So like that part of it was total freedom of just being in the moment, which is the whole idea of acting, right?
Right.
But I was there without any kind of lessons or anything. I had the lessons of how do you go be a kid? Well, you you pick up a stick, you got a sword.
Mm-hmm.
You pop your hands through the bottom of a couple of styrofoam cups, and you've got like magic bulletproof cufflinks, right?
Right.
So that was, but then I also, as a kid, now this was the natural part that I realized was kind of special. I realized this now in arrears, was that it dawned on me, like, don't look in the camera. That makes sense. Like, we're here to do this job. Know your lines. Figure out what the blocking is and hit your blocking. Interact with the other people as they're talking to you. Stay in the scene. Do the whole thing. And so there was no sense of it being a job. There was a sense of it being, again, like, this is what you do as a kid. You go play, and here it was on this hyper formal, within this, again, gone to 11, this hyper extended version of you just playing at the park. Now you're getting to play with all these other people.
Right.
That's probably part of why I left it then as a teenager, was by then you're getting self-conscious. I didn't have acting technique to fall back on and everything, and like the play was, I was interested in other kind of playing by then, and so the playfulness on set was starting to wane in interest for me.
Yeah. When you did that episode of Starsky and Hutch, did you work with Dee Wallace?
I remember being in there with Starsky and Hutch. I mean, that was huge. You understand, right? Like, as a little kid, as my parents were broken up, I would go Wednesday nights over to Dad's house. We would bring my little TV so we could hang out together and watch Charlie's Angels, Starsky and Hutch. Like, all of a sudden, that reality is here at hand, and those guys I'm hanging out with them, and that was pretty amazing.
Yeah. And George Stanford Brown was the director?
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah. He was great.
Yeah. Very talented guy.
That was an emotional episode. I remember him. So, like, I learned from a great handful of people like Glazer, Stanford Brown, like Bill Bixby, the whole.
Yeah.
There was several people that just came through, because there's certain people who are there doing a job, and there's other people who just understood, like, this is an art form. My little brain intuited, like, wow, zero in on these people. They are doing something important with this creativity. Mm-hmm. That's what you should aspire to.
Yeah, Bill Bixby was actually a close friend of my great aunt. She was the head of craft services at the Hilton in San Francisco, and she knew she knew a lot of famous people. And yeah, the Incredible Hulk. I remember that episode. You're like building a sandcastle on the beach.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, was that a fun experience?
Yeah, I mean, there was so the thing about being in the world of make-believe, and to this day, this is still what I do professionally, because I'm a photographer and a filmmaker. So I go somewhere with some people, and we say, okay, this is the story we want to tell today. We make that happen, right? We kind of create stuff out of the world around us, but we make something that feels like this real thing. Mm-hmm. There's an excitement knowing that no 2 days will ever be the same. And so I remember being particularly fond of the fact that was a week of hanging out at the beach.
Yeah. Did you? Did
Malibu Beach, and so here's one thing to know about being a child actor, right? Like there's a lot of stories about child actors who get very fucked up in this town, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't think that comes from the acting per se,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the acting is something you go do, again, as a professional. It's a creative endeavor, and I believe fully that creative endeavors are very healthy, very life-sustaining, and soul-affirming. It's just some of the shit that comes around any creative endeavor, the behaviors that can be destructive.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that happens when you're a kid actor, right, is that you go to set and you're only there for a handful of hours because there's labor laws, right?
Right.
And out of those handful of hours, 3 of them have to be devoted to being in a classroom, although they can be broken up into 20-minute chunks as need be, right?
Right.
So you're going to school. It's often one-on-one with a tutor, so it's like not bad schooling. And you got lunch breaks, and you got other breaks that happen. So you're insulated from a lot of the kind of long hours and certainly the like hurry up and wait that are endemic to being on set. Because anytime you're not shooting, you're back in the classroom banking the hours, right?
Right.
So where was I going with this? The notion is that, going as a kid on set, the hours of actually getting to film and everything are so supercharged with excitement. You're doing your lines, you're doing the work, you're doing the interaction, you're hitting your marks. Maybe you get to do a stunt or two. That's fantastic. And then you're also just being a kid, right? Because you got to go back and you got to be doing your schoolwork. And then there's the weekend, you go hang out with your friends. And in between shows, I was really lucky. I went to a little school in the neighborhood. So I would just go back there, and everyone was family, and there was no weird thing of Meeno coming and going. It's just understood.
Yeah. You have to work with Ken Anakin on The Pirate. He directed Swiss Family Robinson. Wow, that had to have been quite an experience.
Well, that's funny, right? So again, there were, all right, so here's an interesting thing that happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the family that gets built on any shoot that you're doing, right?
Right.
And so your relationship with the people on set is wonderful because you become very tight. Because again, you're doing this magic thing together. And then, the director is often hugely germane to that experience, right? Because especially your little kid, this is kind of the paternal figure that you're turning to get the direction in the thing or the other actors in it, but also a lot of times like the makeup person will be someone who's just got a huge character, so they're making a big influence in your life, or the DP is. So like here, a great example on Voyagers. When we did the Voyagers series, that was a really magic family in that it began with John Eric and I, who had this fantastic chemistry, right?
Right.
We brought all our charisma to bear, plus this kind of the synergy of our two charismas together. And then there's this great crew that we're working with, often on location, doing all these big sets and all this cool stuff. So we're this really terrific machine that works together week in and week out. And each new show, you have a whole new guest starring ensemble that comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And dig this, most people don't know how this kind of stuff works. You have a new director who's coming in.
Right.
So they then have to get adopted for the duration of the episode. And so they're brought into the family. And it's interesting because some of them, actors, typically very gregarious, outgoing people, boom, they fall right into the family aspect. It was like Slim Pickens coming on Best of the West. He was incredible. He was everything you would imagine Slim Pickens is. He's just 100% Slim Pickens.
Right.
Other actors would come in and they would like be reserved. I'm like, what is this? What is this thing of not connecting? And I realized, oh wow, yeah, they're doing something that I would figure out later was method acting, right? They were staying in character.
Right.
They weren't like shooting the shit between shots and stuff. And some of them, like, that was an amazing gravity, and so then I would respect that gravity, and I would get quieter and more focused. And it's wonderful because, again, this whole thing of make-believe and the notion of it being a collaborative art form is cool because you're deep in that sharing, right?
Right.
That's the whole point. See how far into that experience of being in a kitchen together. Like, what are we going to feast on here?
You got to be on Lou Grant. I interviewed Ed Asner back in 2020. What a character that guy was. He must have been a lot of laughs.
Yeah, again, a huge character. Very impressive person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's so funny because, like, you know, I love doing an interview like this because it jogs a lot of memories.
Yeah.
I have a pretty spotty memory. I think it's got to do with, like, crashing my bicycle when I'm a kid.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you got...
Or it's got to... just banging my head around. But it also might be a function of really teaching myself to be very much in the moment. Like, that's where I do my work and my art, right? Is being very saliently aware of my surroundings, such that they can be part of the synthesis of what I am drawing on to make stuff. This is, as a visualist, as a image storyteller, as someone who uses other human beings as my medium through which I'm getting across the messages that need to be gotten across.
Yeah.
You know, I have to be hyper-aware. It's interesting. So my wife has this incredible elephantine memory, right? Like, she forgets nothing.
Right.
I think to myself, like, why does my brain not work like that? But then I realize sometimes, like, she's not aware of peripheral stuff because it would overload her brain, right?
Right.
Whereas I'm continually aware of my focus and the periphery, but then I probably need to, like, duck out a lot of information after it's not presently relevant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, as I said, I fell off my bike onto my head enough times as a kid that my bike, my roller skates, my skateboard,
Did you get a concussion?
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
In the 70s, no one diagnosed concussion. You just bled, and then you scabbed, and you were a kid, and you went out and did it again.
Yeah. So, like I said, you know, I'm a huge horror fan, and I think that Don't Go Near the Park is a very interesting horror flick. I've talked to Larry Folds. He's a character. I mean, when you look back on that movie now and how problematic and weird it is and stuff, I mean, are you embarrassed by it, or do you embrace it?
Right. So, mind you, I have not seen it since. You know, I may have never seen it. Right? It was probably a bit too gruesome for me to watch as a kid.
Yeah.
Be allowed to watch. And then, you know, like, in my adolescence, when maybe I would have been tickled to see something like that,
Yeah.
That stuff just wasn't available. The magic of the internet making some of that old stuff available again. I love that Larry Folds has like become a cult classic in himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do remember, I have some memories of making it because it was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It was very low budget. So it was at a time where I had already been on big sets and stuff. So it was interesting to see, like, oh, this is very little, and like this is the raw stuff of, like, let's make believe. Even to the fact where, like, my dad came with me to the set one day, which was like totally a great thing, because my dad had never been to the set with me before, and I just, like, that was so cool that my dad was bringing me to the set.
Mm-hmm.
And we were actually in the neighborhood that we lived in, and that was cool too. And there was going to be this scene where I, like, ran across the street and a car screeched to a halt, not hit me. And, like, that was cool because, like, these are my streets, and now I'm going to get to do a cool stunt. And, you know, there's something, like, I would never do, like, run out without looking both ways. I was a smart kid. But this is going to be a stunt. It's the movies. It's make-believe. And my dad's like, wait a fucking minute. You are not having this car screech in front of my kid. And I was a little bummed, like, wow. I mean, why did my dad have to come today? And now, in retrospect, I realized, like, yeah, good. I'm glad he saved my fucking life. And, you know, we figured out how to do it with two angles so the car was not actually screeching while I was in front of it.
Did Tammy know that you were going to put your hand down her shirt while she was sleeping?
Oh, man, that's in the movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Like, I mean, it's all in the script. Totally forgot about that. All right, so you understand, you know, Tammy, like, boy, did I have a crush on her. That was fantastic, right? That I got to, like, work with this beautiful young woman who is just, like, a great, big, beautiful woman to me when I'm that little.
Mm-hmm.
But then, to, like, take the coolness of that even further, it was shortly after that I got the Amityville Horror.
Yeah.
And I needed a set sitter, right? So as a kid, you got to have someone over 18 on set with you, and that was, like, typically started out as my mom, and then one time my dad. But then my mom was getting more busy with my baby sister, so I needed a set sitter. And Tammy, whose career hadn't taken off, needed a gig, and so she was my set sitter, and it was awesome. So every day she'd come pick me up in her cool little pickup, and we would throw on Fleetwood Mac Rumors on her 8-track, or we would talk on her CB. Yeah. I mean, it was so great, right? I had my own, it was like this, my own cool adult chick friend who I got to hang out with, and it was so great.
Yeah.
Tammy was a great part of my childhood.
Yeah, she said yes to an interview and then changed her mind, and I was really heartbroken. And then 6 years later, I asked her again in hopes that she wouldn't remember me and that she was in a different mind space. No, she turned me down again. I don't know why. But working with a legend like Aldo Ray, I mean, what was he like?
Oh, man, I got no memory of that.
Yeah, well, you probably didn't know at that age that he was a legend.
Right, of course not. No, I knew Tammy was legendary because she was this beautiful young woman.
Yeah, and it was Linnea Quigley's, like, first movie too, and Larry told me about her on that and stuff. I don't think anybody knew that she was going to be a cult movie scream queen and all of that.
Right.
Yeah, so the Amityville Horror, like, when I was 16, my teacher used to show us movies on Fridays, and he'd get us Costco pizza. And there was this one month where he was on a horror kicker. We watched all these supernatural horror movies, The Exorcist, Carrie, The Omen, and then we watched Amityville Horror. And I had never seen it.
Cool teacher, that's epic.
Well, no, it was a reward well done for, like, doing good in his class kind of a thing, right? And so
something tells me you wouldn't get away with showing The Exorcist in a classroom.
Not now. No. This was 1999. So we're watching the movie, and I had never heard of it. Like, I knew all the other ones that we watched, but that one I didn't know. And so I'm watching it, and anybody who knows me knows I love pizza, but I almost did not want to finish my pizza because of the diarrhea coming out of the toilets and the sink. I was like, oh, God, this is gross. Eventually, I did finish my pizza, but at that moment, I was like, oh, man, I can't look. I can't look. But
funny.
Yeah, but yeah, here you are working with James Brolin. He's one of TV's hottest stars. Margot Kidder's coming off of Superman. Stuart Rosenberg, who made Cool Hand Luke, is directing. I mean, you probably had a master class of filmmaking and acting with this movie.
It was really a neat experience because up to then I had done television stuff and the one little movie with Larry. So now to be on an actual big movie was cool. And the first 2 months were in Toms River, New Jersey, where it was great being on location out of the city
Hmm.
and just the excitement of that. There
Yeah.
was the excitement then of like doing my own stunt. I put my foot down, and the scene where I fall down the stairs into the basement.
Yeah.
That was me. That was me saying like, no, you're not using the stuntman for this. This is the stuff I train for. This is where my expertise lies. And
Yeah.
yeah, and it was awesome. And so I got to do that stunt. Working with Roland as a father figure, that was rad. I mean, he really he was as magic as you might imagine he is.
Yeah.
And then Margot Kidder, yeah, she was like this imp of light. Just in the movie, she's so racked with horror and this hoarse voice scream, but in life, she was smiling and glowing and
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah, and she had done horror before with Sisters and Black Christmas, so she knew had to play that genre well, and she was already a person who wore all black, and she would go to like protest rallies and stuff because she was a very passionate liberal and all that stuff. She was just an amazing person.
Yeah, actors can be really interesting humans because of the soft, pulpy nature of humanity that's required
Hmm.
to let it all hang out.
Well, was Rod Steiger a scary and intense guy? I've heard he was.
So, unfortunately, like you can be in a movie with somebody and then not like have a whole lot of interface with them because you're not in the same scenes, right?
Of course. Yeah.
And especially as a kid, where you don't spend a whole lot of time just hanging out on the set because, as I said, you got to be in school and all this stuff. But I mean, my memories of him were like he told some great jokes, and there's certain people you realize like, oh yeah, this person just belongs on a set. They know exactly what they're doing. Their gravity, their sense of bearing in the universe was like designed for this.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially what you're doing is you're watching, with young eyes, you're watching a serious professional.
Yeah, and Michael Sachs, oh my God, he was the lead in the Slaughterhouse-5, and then like his career was like not the same again in terms of playing lead roles and stuff. Did you work much with him?
No, did he play the other? The other?
Yeah, he played Jeff.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, we were. The kids' roles were pretty much just around the family stuff.
Yeah, Amy Wright with her retainer in her mouth.
Right.
Yeah, it took me years to realize that was her too. I was like, because I seen her in other things, and I was like, who's that cute girl with the retainer? I looked it up. It was Amy Wright. I was like, wow, that is her. Yeah, I didn't realize that and stuff.
Yeah, I remember feeling like a lot of compassion for her because you had to just really dig in and do this. Like watching her be racked with the horror of it all, just thinking like, wow, you're really doing a great piece of acting here.
Have you ever seen the sequels?
No.
I recommend the second one, and then after that, it falls apart.
Yeah, I can imagine.
My very first guest was the daughter in the second one, Diane Franklin, who of course is an '80s movie, hottie icon, with The Last American Virgin and Better Off Dead and all of that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, like that. That I have no lease on that My pop culture was some of the great stuff of the '70s. And then the time we're into the '80s, I'm listening to rock and roll and stuff like that. I wasn't brought up on the movies and TV of the '80s, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's funny because when I was a kid in the '90s, I was still into stuff in the '80s. I checked out with a lot of stuff that was going on at the time, and now I look back at a lot of it now, and I'm like, okay, there was some good stuff, but it just didn't have that '80s feel to it that I've always embraced,
It's funny, like, yeah, I mean, like the things that mark your tastes early, right? Like one of my favorite movies as a kid was Tommy, the rock opera.
Oh, yeah, mine too. I love it.
So like that kind of '70s spectacle was just so fantastic. And then Rocky Horror Picture Show, man, that just changed my life. And
huge Rocky Horror fan. I love that. I've never seen it in the theater, unfortunately, but I've watched it on TV a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the epic way to do it with at midnight with a room full. I'm 9 years old, man. I saw that at the Tiffany Theater on Sunset and was just like, oh yeah, this is a thing.
Yeah.
The whole experience of being involved with everybody there, just having their freak out, and it was so good.
Yeah, it's the best. Also, Phantom of the Paradise, I love.
Yes. Life at last. Salutations from the other side.
Yep. That's a great one. I've interviewed all of the oh God, what's the name of the group with the white faces? I've interviewed all three of those guys. Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, let me see if I can pull up the melody, right?
Yeah, it's Peter Elbling, Archie Hahn, and Jeffrey Commodore who played those three guys. The Juicy Fruits. Juicy Fruits, that's who it was.
Like you.
Yeah. The Juicy Fruits, that's who I've interviewed all those guys.
Right. The Juicy. I got to meet like that was he was a star for me, right? That I was stoked to meet was what's his name? Who wrote all the music? The little guy.
Paul Williams.
Yeah. Like I got to meet him, and that was and just be able to say like, dude, you were the influence you had on my childhood with that film, and he was so stoked.
Yeah.
That someone was calling that up.
He's gotten all these accolades for being a musician. He doesn't consider himself a musician. I've heard him say in interviews, he's like, I'm an actor first and foremost, and I just happen to have some musical talent that I've gotten awards for, but I consider myself an actor. That's what he wanted to be when he was a kid.
So funny.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's been in some great movies. He was in The Chase with Marlon Brando, and of course the Smokey and the Bandit movies, and Phantom. Lots of good stuff he's been in,
Yeah.
How was the Different Strokes episode with the Pop Warner?
So being on Different Strokes was kind of interesting because one. Here I am, and it's all about this relationship of me and the guy who's playing my dad, right? Because it's about abuse and stuff.
Yeah.
But like Joel Higgins and I, we already had a history of being son and dad. Right?
Yeah.
And like I felt like Rick Schroeder's just like interloping, pretending to be the son of the guy who's actually my dad.
Right. Yeah, Greg Malavey played the coach. I've interviewed him a couple times. Sweet man, very sweet man. He played Tom on Mary Hartman back in the 70s. And yeah, you got to be on these short-lived shows like the Bad News Bears TV show. I didn't watch that show. I watched the movies, of course, but I never watched the show. And Best of the West.
Now picture how rad that was right? Because like I'm a kid, of the '70s, so something like Bad News Bears, man, that's just hugely integral to the fabric of my being. And here I am, I get to go out and be on a remake of it, and it was so much fun. And that was, 12 kids on set. Like we had a great time.
Yeah.
That was really and yeah, it only went 2 seasons, but
yeah.
Again, mind you, 2 seasons is, the better part of a couple of years in a kid's life. That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, and Corey Feldman, Billy Jacoby, Sparky Marcus. I mean, I can imagine with those personalities, there was never a dull moment on that show.
No, and of course Christoph, man, he was my best friend then. But his dad had decided that he was going to go off and have this whole spiritual journey in India, so he just split, and Christoph just lived with us. It was great. So Christoph was my older brother for a while. It was so much fun.
Yeah, there's something so magical about those Paramount TV shows and sitcoms from back in the day. Like you also did a Happy Days episode. They used to have Paramount parties on Friday nights with the cast of all the shows, and Robin Williams and Andy Kaufman would show up, and you never knew what was going to happen with their humor. With Andy's antics and Robin just going off the cuff and going into characters and stuff.
I mean, can you imagine? I'm there, right? So we're doing Best of the West, and I've got a trailer, and that's my dressing room and schoolroom.
Yeah.
And so I'm like in there, and I'm studying, and then I got to come out for a little bit, like stretch my legs.
Yeah.
And here's Mork walking by. Hey, how are you? And here's the bosom buddies walking by.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks, right?
Yeah.
All the people was walking by, and then like, all right, we got some time. Let's go watch them rehearse Taxi.
Ooh.
It was right next door. It was all the same writers and producers.
Yep.
And it was huge magic to just be privy to that stuff. It was really cool.
That is so friggin' cool. Yeah, and it was, again, no internet. It was a small community. Everybody knew each other. Everybody was in each other's face talking. They weren't having parasocial relationships. It was just a magical time in Hollywood,
Sure.
It was a magical time.
Sure. If you read any Elroy, I love James Elroy. And he brings to life for me so much Hollywood before that era.
Yeah.
But then there's all these leftover elements, like Lucy's El Adobe. It was a big deal in the world of LA Confidential. Mm-hmm. And that was also like a big deal in my life because that's where I ate a lot of burritos at lunch.
Wait, you were in LA Confidential?
No, I was in LA.
Oh, okay. I was confused for a moment there. Okay.
Right. No, I was walking out of the Paramount lot, the same Paramount lot that had been, there in the decades before that when so much of that whole rich, ribald noir era of Hollywood existed, with the same buildings, same restaurants, same haunts.
Haunts, yeah. Very few people even use that term anymore, haunts.
Right. We just did something really cool, speaking of cool haunted places as well.
Mm-hmm.
We just went to the Los Angeles Theater downtown on Broadway. This is one of the great movie palaces of old Hollywood when downtown was still the downtown of Los Angeles. The Conservancy is keeping these theaters alive because they're so crammed with history. And then they do screenings. And so we went and we saw LA Confidential a couple weeks ago there. And it was just so great because people got dressed up. James Elroy was there signing his new book. They did a great intro dialogue before the movie.
Yeah.
And we saw a 35 millimeter print of it. And it was just, the movie stands up so well.
Yeah.
And it was just really fun to be in that place. But there are mirrors on the way down to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
So the bathroom, you go down these long steps to a mezzanine area that then you go down a few more steps to where the bathrooms and the nursery was.
Yeah.
Right? There was a nursery you could drop the kids at. And so there's tell that sometimes you can still hear the cry of a child in the nursery.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if you take pictures in the mezzanine area in the mirror, later you'll find that someone's in the mirror behind you.
That's so cool. I've interviewed 4 ladies who were in the pilot for Voyagers. I realized Sandra Curry, Annie Lockhart, Tracy Swope, and Suzanne Barnes, and they're all hot, of course, and very talented actresses. Yeah. Does anything stand out about working with any of them?
So, that was, part of the story of each week was that there was some beautiful woman on it who essentially became a love interest for Bog, right?
Yeah.
And it was only later that I figured out that, a lot of them were actually taking him home.
Yeah.
He's a lucky guy. And, but they were all magical. They were all wonderful. They were all gorgeous. It was so much fun as a kid to be, around the milieu of all these people, and then to be able to have these intense scenes with them sometimes.
Yeah.
And then there was one woman, great beauty, wild eyes, and she played the wife of Caesar.
Uh-huh.
When we did the Spartacus episode.
Okay.
And I remembered her well because she had this really large mouth, right?
Yeah.
Garish lipstick on it, just one of these faces that's really impressive. And I ran into her, a decade and more later,
Mm-hmm.
when I was grown up and just somewhere, so I went up to her and I said, "I remember you from the Colosseum." And she looks at me and she gets ashen face. And so I'm worried. I think, wait, no, remember you guest starred on the series I was doing, Voyagers, and you were Caesar's wife.
Mm-hmm.
And then she takes a deep, she exhales a very theatrical breath, and she says, "Oh, thank goodness. You see, spent quite a bit of time in Italy." And I
think I know who that was.
and I realized, oh yes, I was not one of your paramours beneath the arches. I was just a kid you acted with.
Was that Andrea Marcovici?
There you go.
Yep. She's very talented. Was E.G. Daily ever on set?
I don't know. I don't know if they were together yet.
Okay.
When did they become an item?
I don't know the exact year, but I do know that they were together at the time of his death.
Right. But remember, that's a year later or more.
Yeah. Yeah, I can just imagine, you spend all this time with the guy on set, and then that happens. It probably left a scar and impact on you.
So he died very close to the time that a couple of the kids, so the little school that I'd grown up at all the years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going back to between all the different shows and everything. So that school was really, that was a big part of my life, and all those people were very much my extended family. And it was a school that went preschool through high school, right? So even though I was in grade school and junior high, the kids who were in high school, that was Camelot to me, right? Those were the big kids that I looked up to.
Yeah.
And there were 2 kids who had been a great couple for years, Chris and Julie,
Mm-hmm.
Craig and Julie. And they had just graduated, and then that summer wrapped her little UW rabbit around a tree off of Sunset in the Palisades. And so I had just had my first taste that my grandpa had gone somewhere right around there. Grandmother had gone earlier, but like, you know, so I mean, like, as a kid, there's a time where you first find out about this thing actually stopping for those around you.
Yeah.
And so I'd had my first taste of it, and then all of a sudden, when they came and told me that John Eric had had this accident, I thought, oh yeah, well, he'll be fine. You know, we were always fucking around all the time and getting, you know, ancillary bumps and bruises from horsing around. And then all of a sudden, the story kind of progressed over the next hours and days. You realize, oh shit, he's not just going to be better. And yeah, that left some big early scars.
Yeah, God, I mean, you know, a couple of years ago when that whole thing with Alec Baldwin happened on set, right? I'm like, God, I mean, this makes the Hexam thing pale in comparison. I mean, the fact that, you know, he fired this gun that, you know, he allegedly didn't know it was loaded and killed someone on set. I mean, God, there's going to be a whole new game. This is a whole new game changer of on-set rules and regulations now.
Well, I mean, that was so scandalous because there's long-standing rules around all that shit. So how did that ever even?
Yeah.
How did that ever come close to happening? Is mind-boggling.
You were the third episode of the A-Team.
That was epic. It couldn't have only been the third episode because, like.
Well, the third one that aired, let's say.
Really? Was that early?
Yeah, that early.
Oh, man, because I remember being a fan of it, and you know, like being so stoked to be in there with listen, that was definitely a set full of guys who were pros and also people who like took the job none too seriously. They were there having a good time, and they knew that the better time they had, the more chemistry wound up on camera, and it was just it was a goof. It was great.
Yeah.
Mr. T was wonderful. Like, what a gentleman.
Yeah, William Smith was there.
What not a tough guy, right?
Yeah.
What a total pussycat.
Yeah. Well, he is tough. He's authentic, but he's also a teddy bear of a guy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you got to be that guy in order to commit to having a persona like that. You know, and William Smith, he was a real tough guy too. That guy was so strong. He did 5,000 sit-ups in, like, I don't know, just a couple hours. I've interviewed his widow, and I'm like, wow, 5,000 push-ups in just a couple of hours. That is insane. Yeah, and Phil Proctor from Firesign Theater was in that episode. I've talked to him. He's intense and very funny guy. This is probably the last time I'll ever say this out loud. You're the second guy I've interviewed from the Dio video, The Last in Line.
All right, so should I give you the great story on that?
Yeah.
So Wendy was Ronnie's wife.
His wife, yeah.
Yeah. And she was good friends with Jackie. Jackie, who works at my dad's office, my dad's accounting office.
Okay.
Jackie came from out on the island of the Lou Reed song.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So yeah. Jackie, so I got the great benefit as a little kid of going to Dio shows because of the connect there, right? And I was into rock and roll, so like that was a great treat. Like my dad, and he took me, and we get to go see Dio, and of course we're backstage, and you and I are the two little guys with curly hair, you know, about the same size. And and we just dug each other. It was great. So he wrote that video for me to star in.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was the kickoff to a very big summer for me.
It sure sounds like
and,
it.
It was great because all my friends got to come to set and be in it, and everything you see there, that was the set. It was all sorts of wild shit going on, and it was just so much fun. And here I am getting to hang out with the whole band.
Yeah.
And that was great.
That's so cool you got to do that. Yeah, I'm a huge Dio fan. You know, he was one of those guys who was just so cool and genuine, and he never went down the rabbit hole of being a rock star and falling into the drugs and the alcohol and all that crap. He remained true to himself, and he got so much success from just being himself.
So listen, I mean, that's that supposition I made at the top of the show, right?
Right.
Is that the art, within any art form, the art making is really healthy because creativity is really healthy.
Right.
People get wrapped up in some other bullshit, and it can run away with them, and
Right.
it can end their life in the worst possible cases.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens. But that's not the art, right? That's not part of the genesis material from which you do creative stuff. And so when you're just involved with the creativity of it, it's very life affirming.
Yeah. So what got you into first teaching and then photography?
So, all right. So the teaching came from when you're autodidactic, as I have always been.
Mm-hmm.
You're good at like figuring things out from the basics, and that's kind of one of the keys to being able to be a good teacher is you see from the student's point of view of this topic is opaque, and we want to work it till it's totally clear, right?
Right.
And that approach is germane to what I do as a filmmaker and photographer, as a director, helping people get to that point where we're communicating together. When I was in college, in my senior year, I had a class, and part of it was teaching freshmen.
Mm-hmm.
So that really gave me like taste of how wonderful it is to actually teach, right?
Right.
So I loved that. And then there was that funny moment where, I'd grown up working as this professional actor, but had never grown up with a sense of like how to get a job. Mm-hmm. I'd grown up with my own money, put myself through college and all this stuff. And one day the money just ran out, and I had to figure out like, now I've got to do this thing of like getting a job. I don't know how to do any of that. Someone had mentioned that with a college degree you can substitute teach, so I thought I'd give that a try. And I quickly fell for it because it's a wonderful thing to go and teach kids, and it relied heavily on the kind of skills that I already had a skill set for, like make shit up on the fly, because you're going into classrooms where there's no curriculum left for you or anything. It's just a show up and do it kind of thing, and be quick on your feet. And those are the things I did. And so in that, it was edifying. It was also really trying, because a lot of times you're going, I was just subbing. So I was going to any school that they called me to, and like the city's kind of fucked up in a lot of places. And you realize that these kids just, they loved it when you came in with soul and everything.
Yeah.
You were bringing so much to their party, and that was a wonderful, trade of stuff, soul stuff. And also it was a time in my life where I was in my mid-20s and I was heartbroken and I didn't have anyone to need me, and these kids needed And, they needed somebody, and it felt real good to be needed.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the teaching journey. I couldn't really figure out why I was on it, other than it seemed like what I needed to do to spin my dharma at the time. And then I was at Hollywood High as a long-term sub. I was there for a year and more. And it was profound because I was sending kids off to college. It was the real deal. It was special. And I thought, well, I should probably get a teaching credential and do this for real. I wasn't making any money.
Right.
Or I should be the artist that I'm also trying to be, staying up all night in the dark room and this kind of stuff. I got to choose. Like, what is the path of my life here? And so I said goodbye to the class, set out to try and figure out how to make a career as an artist. And just before the new semester started, I was having a beer with my buddy from the history department. He said, we don't have anyone to take your spot yet. We still need you. So they sucked me back in with the need. So I show back up for the first day of school. And they say, we're so happy to have you back, but you're no longer the history teacher. Now you're the ballet teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Just thinking. And I asked the universe, I supplicated, please tell me why. Why am I here on this gray day in this gray room at this gray moment of my life? Why? And then the new art teacher walked in, and I realized, that's why.
Yeah.
So that was 26 years ago. We're happily married ever since.
I've looked at your website. I mean, you have a gift clearly with the pictures and all that stuff. I'm curious to know, like, what do you think about digital as opposed to film cameras?
So, I shot film when it was film. I fell in love with the darkroom. That was the genesis. The genesis of the photography was that I was always a visualist, was working in a visual medium, and so I had cameras from a young age. I traveled, and when you travel, you got your eyes open, and so you eat all that up. And so I took lots of pictures, but it was after college that I really found the darkroom.
Mm-hmm.
And the darkroom is when photography takes on a real painterly aspect,
mm-hmm.
and the of being deeper with it than just being in the moment to take the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really fell in love with that whole process, and so I was really launched into that as a budding photographer when our first child was born. And it dawned on me, I don't want these chemicals anywhere near her little body.
Yeah.
And so we were living in an artist loft, and I had this incredible darkroom that was built by my brother-in-law. He's an engineer, and he built it like to my own body, all the specs and dimensions. It was my perfect darkroom. And I just gave it up in an instant as soon as I met my kid. Like, it was magical. And I was going to do everything I could to protect that. And I bought my first computer,
Yeah.
And we started figuring out how to do it all digitally. And at first you scanned the film, and then finally there were cameras that were decent enough that they could create the stuff digitally. And so I'm a big proponent of digital. I shoot digital cinematography as well, raw cinematography and raw photography. And when you shoot it raw, that's a big deal because you are involved in the development of it.
Right.
And that goes back to that kind of darkroom ethic of being involved in the image comes to its full fruition. And I love the facility of it. I'm of an age where I don't have to, I don't idealize the analog nature of film. I've thoroughly embraced the analog nature of tube amplification for my guitars.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't need I don't need chemical baths to make my imagery what my imagery is.
Yeah. Like, do you see a future with cameras beyond cell phones, like in the future?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so here, when you make images,
Mm-hmm.
you're using whatever part of your brain is involved with image recording. You are using whatever part of your brain is involved in storytelling, in memory making, all those pieces, right?
Right.
And I can tell you from being someone who professionally will often be shooting stills and motion on any given job, that even though you're just making imagery of the same stuff, you make it with different parts of your brain.
Right.
And so to that end, I have on set, I have a movie camera and a stills camera. And they switch between them, the modality of whatever that part of your image brain is shifts a bit.
Yeah. It's a very interesting skill, it's one of those skills that people don't realize there's more to it than, what meets the eye, so to speak. That's why they got
Remember, all skills, there are more to it than what meets the eye, right? The fact that anything looks easy is because it's easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And
the practitioners that make it look easy have
exactly
nailed some sort of expertise and mastery that they can just do it in a fluid way.
Exactly. People
We'll
who
try
can
and score a fucking goal in the World Cup. See how well you do.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, people who do it well make it look easy.
Right.
And
But I mean, remember, that is part of it, is that, like, when you're good at something and you're doing it, maybe you're not working hard because now you're really good at it and you can just, like, get into the flow. But you have put in a lot of effort to get to the place where you're able to flow like that.
exactly. And lastly, June is National Belly Button Month. Are you an innie, outie, or in betweenie?
Many.
Okay. Yeah, I am also an innie. It's very deep. I call it the bottomless pit. Yeah. Well, Meeno, I thank you so much for coming on today, and I'm glad that you're staying creative and doing something that you love, which is photography. And
Yeah. You can see all my stuff at meenoPhoto.com.
awesome. You have yourself a great rest of your day and be safe out there.
All right, brother. Thanks for having me on. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you, sir.
Good going down memory lane.
My pleasure. Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Meeno Peluce, ain't he a cool dude? Wow, very deep, zen, insightful guy. I enjoyed that conversation thoroughly, and it was great talking about the 70s, 80s television and film. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.